God, my Andrew Tate moment. For me, it's just the idea of, can I do it? You know, I can't see myself fail. Therefore, I won't. And therefore, I'll make sure I do everything possible to make sure it works.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Beyond the Listing. I'm Suki, your host for today. Super excited to have the gentleman to my right today. You're going to get a lot of value from this interview. He's a world street dance champion, hip-hop choreographer turned sales manager here in Business Bay. I'm really excited to introduce you, Liam. How are you doing?
I'll be honest, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we'll get to obviously the good parts in a bit, but I guess what everyone would want to know is, how did you go from world street dance champion to a sales manager? How did that even happen?
I started off as a dancer, right? I showed massive interest in just learning how to dance. My sister started the whole thing off for me, believe it or not. She started in ballet. And obviously she took classes and stuff, and I just kind of wanted to do something very similar to that. Obviously I was not going to do ballet, so my mum then found like a completely different style for me to go into, which was hip hop. Basically, I remember walking into that class being absolutely petrified, cried. I was so young, and then my mum didn't care. She threw me in there, then drove off. And by the time she came back, I enjoyed it. And after that, you know, class after class, I just kind of obsessed over it, loved it, practiced it all the time. By 12, I had become a world street dance champion. My first competition was actually the world championships, which I lost, believe it or not. First ever competition. I went into the wrong category by accident, missed mine, so I walked into the next one. Lost, of course. I was still so new. And I walked out of that competition with my mum and my sister, and I said to my mum, like, I'm gonna win it next year. I trained super hard for the whole year. I remember I entered the competition and won. My category, I won. My sister won her category, then we won the duo category as well. We then did multiple competitions after that, started my own company, which was Fat Boys Dance Company, in the name. I'm not exactly that, but it was in the name. I think my thought process was that I just wanted to do something big, and obviously the name matches that. And then after that, we performed in stadiums. We performed in front of the Prime Minister of the UK at the time, and the current Prime Minister of India, who's still the Prime Minister today, when they did the peace merger. So it was like the biggest Wembley Stadium show. It was a world record. It was insane, the most viewers. And then we performed at the top of the Burj Khalifa, performed at Redfest, when Redfest was around, Virgin Radio's Redfest. We opened up for Sean Paul. I choreographed for John Newman's music video, Love Me Again video, which is, you can probably see it online now. We did loads of stuff like that. I'd kind of walk in and out of shows and stuff all the time, being booked pretty much every week. And then what happened is that I just wanted to learn how to do corporate business, to be honest. I was very good at talking. That's the only thing I knew how to do. I didn't really know anything about the corporate industry or the corporate side of the world. No idea. Just knew everything was regimented and everyone dressed in suits. And at that time, I was not that person. Yeah. I was in hoodies, I was in trackies, I was short. And then what happened was I came up here, interviewed for like a boutique firm at the time. I basically lied through my interview. Again, It was awful. I lied. My CV was fake. They're gonna hate me because I think they know it. My interview was over Zoom at the time. I went through the whole process, same as every other real estate agent in Dubai. And I remember just lying so hard. Yeah, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. My CV was all dance related and marketing related, and that was kind of it. Fortunately, I was actually able to speak. And then, I went into sales, spent a year in that company, learned a lot, very great mentors. Even to this day, I'll catch up with a few of them every now and again. After spending 2 or 3 years in the previous company, got headhunted to be their leasing manager in this company, and then spent a year in that role, then got promoted to their sales manager. And that's how I'm here.
I know you sort of mentioned in your first company that you joined that you basically lied through the interview.
They're gonna hate me so much. Yeah,
probably will. You lied because you wanted to get the job there, and you wanted that experience in the corporate world.
I don't know. You know what it was? I think for me, like, knowing what I know now, I know full well I probably didn't need to do any of that. But at that time, because I didn't know anything else other than just dance. And honestly, I remember that interview relating everything back to dance. And I was basically explaining to them, like, the different forms of choreography that I do. I'm having to do different pieces all the time. I have no choice but to adapt, and there'll be last minute changes of a set, and then you've got to try and figure that out. When they started saying how many sales you did and stuff like this, I was just like, so many, millions. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I used to look at my phone ring and then text people afterwards. You know what I mean? Afterwards.
Yeah.
And that was me. So calling was never my thing. Face-to-face conversations was always my thing. And I remember him sat there in training, and he literally said, he goes, everyone in the room, the reason why you guys have been hired is because you should be good on the phone. I remember thinking to myself, like, oh man, if only you knew. Do you know what I mean? And then what happened was that I remember everyone left. We sat there in my one-to-one, and he basically said to me, he goes, Liam, your interview was probably the best interview I've ever had with a candidate. And I think then he kind of realized very quickly, like, you don't know anything though. Do you know what I mean? And so that, I think because of that transparency, I was then able to then mold into, who I am now, to be honest with you. I learned right from the beginning, foundation, everything from that point onwards. My first experience on the phone was just me stuttering all the time, and I didn't have a single clue about what I was talking about, just going with it. And it was like really inauthentic, I think. I'm trying to be someone. I think that's the main problem. Trying to play this character of, someone that you see on Wolf of Wall Street or something like that. And it's not how it works. You know what I mean? Like, people genuinely do prefer an authentic person.
It seems like you was like really passionate about your dance career. Obviously, I know you said that your mom threw you in when you was 8 and drove off. Was it?
It was nice of that. I'll be honest, it's the catalyst for a lot of things, but that's what happened.
That's
Indian mum, that's like,
yeah, for real. Oh, that's old school parenting, man. But yeah, we both have flashbacks of that. So, was it difficult for you to leave your passion? It seems.
Yeah, do you know, that's a good question actually, because I'd contemplated it for quite some time, because I knew off the cuff, like, it was my move up here wasn't something that was planned. People spend 6 months in the UK planning a move in Dubai. For me, it was like, I saw this advert online, and then interviewing, and then that same week, and then literally making decisions one after another, and then that was basically it, really. I think for me, I always wanted to do something like that. The issue is that in the UK, with how heavy I was invested within my dance career, I was always getting sucked back into that industry. New opportunities would come up. I'd have to travel. I couldn't commit to anything, like, corporately. I was halfway across the world at some points in time. It was a conflicting schedule all the time, so I never really got to do it. And I think Dubai was probably the best opportunity for me to move out of the UK and actually really, really sink my teeth into something else.
What sort of advice would you give to someone, let's just say, new to Dubai, new to being a real estate broker?
God, my Andrew Tate moment. I think for me, look, to deal with pressures, you have to keep your head above water. I think that's the main thing. And it's so cliche to say. You've got to be in a position where you're just open-minded enough to be able to react. I think that's the main thing. The anticipation of something will go wrong, and then reacting to the situation that has gone wrong, I think, in my opinion, probably helps.
What do you think helps you sort of progress in your own personal career?
I think it's just my ambition to always wanting to do better. I think that's probably what it is. See how far I can take this will always be something that drives me onto the next step. I'm just out of pure curiosity to see if I can even handle it. I remember being I was a good broker, and I remember going into getting headhunted for this managerial role, and I was like, I'd never done anything like this apart from choreograph sets or stuff like that. I mean, especially for Betterhomes, I think that's probably the main thing as well, like an enterprise firm. I remember walking into, you're not dealing with 5-6 people, you're dealing with full offices of people. And I think for me, it's just the idea of, can I do it? And I think it's the hunger of, I can't see myself fail, therefore I won't, and therefore I'll make sure I do everything possible to make sure it works.
In Business Bay, you obviously manage a large team. What would you sort of say is your management style, or what do you think your team would say your management style is like?
I believe that my management style is very firm but fair. I think that's probably the best way to put it. I understand from being a broker for the longest time as well, that not one size fits all. I think that's probably the best way to put it. You can't just expect everyone to kind of jump through the same sort of hoop, and people are very, very different. And I find that my management style is very specific to the team members that I've got, which is why I try and keep my team quite tight. I mean, yeah, it is super large, but I know everybody and their characteristics within the team to be able to try and pull the best result from them. And I feel like for me, that works. Again, you get loads of managers and stuff that is mainly just KPI driven, and the numbers, and it's almost like just throwing it down their throat. I was never that person to just always think about the numbers. Do you know what I mean? They had to mean something for me. And I find that when the numbers resonate with the person, you get more from them with that. So therefore, my management approach is like very, very specific and independent.
Like, let's just say someone did come in with hunger and personality. Do you think then the job can just be taught?
Absolutely, you can teach the job. The job in itself isn't difficult.
Yeah.
The characteristics that you need for the job, I find are difficult to teach. I think that's the hard part. I think that's the difference. The actual job in itself is not difficult. It's not a hard job. There's skills that you can develop over time. Again, I'm a great example of it. I knew nothing. Do you know what I mean? Knew absolutely nothing coming into it. My first ever deal, it took me 3 months to do so. And I make sure every candidate that I interview, every candidate I interview knows that it could take up to about 3 months to do your first deal, because it happened for me. But if I can do it within 3 months, and I could do a deal for 7.8 million first deal, there is no reason why anyone else can't do it. And I really do believe that. And I was taught that way. But the one thing I can't teach is that personal hunger. You have to want it. It has to be for a reason. You have to come up to Dubai to do this job for a reason.
So with the amount of people that are coming to Dubai, they're obviously seeing what the opportunities are like. What's your opinion on the future of Dubai?
If you are talking about real estate specifically, I think we're clearly seeing a hell of a lot more people come into Dubai. It's the same spiel as probably we hear on every other real estate podcast or interview. They're saying like, the people dictate the market, right? And obviously if there's more demand than there is supply, the market will always consistently go up. I think where the worry is that, people are basically saying that there's going to be more properties coming in a few years. But I personally think with the trajectory of where Dubai's positioned itself compared to the rest of the world, I think, we'll probably see a lot more insight, a lot more catch up. And probably I think it'll be the fastest growing economy that we've ever seen, ever. I really do believe that. We're seeing it now. Things happen in huge extremes in Dubai. I personally think in the future of Dubai, what we're going to see is a lot more quality. I think that's what we're going to see in the market. Clearly, people are now starting to see space is a massive factor, and they're now starting to see that the quality of what's being output is going to be a massive contender to dictate price later on.
So you've obviously had a great journey, being a dancer, then obviously being a sales manager to what you are now. What would you say your goals are in the next 10 years?
I would probably like to have adapted probably all 4 pillars of my life. Do you know what I mean? That's probably the main thing. I want to make sure that I've not left any stone unturned, because this job in itself really does dictate one side of you, which is hugely monetary. I do love this job, don't get me wrong. I do get a lot of gratification from it. But for me, a lot of my goals are very monetary. I am always looking for the next thing. But on top of that, I'm also, very much interested in where I see my next piece of experience coming from, how I can get better. And I also think, I also, look at other situations of my life being just overall happiness. I think that's one main thing. Obviously, love is a massive factor of it. I probably would like to start a family at some stage later on down the line. That's a completely different topic. But I feel like all that sort of stuff within the next decade, I think those things I'd like to enhance and probably try and make sure that all 4 pillars of my life are completely full.
Right, Liam, thank you very much for joining us today.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
And to everyone at home, thank you for watching. I hope you gained some valuable insight of what Liam's journey was like, and we hope to see you on the next one.